I'd like to announce April 24, 2025 meeting of the Town of Dartmouth Public Works Board. This meeting is being recorded. I'd like to poll the board for attendance first. Mr. LaBelle,
Yeah,
Mr. Gagne,
Present.
Chairman is present. We have all members present. First item is to approve the warrants for bills payable March 31st, April 7, 14, 22, and 28. Do I have a motion?
motion to approve bills
Second.
payable, as stated.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. LaBelle. I think I heard a second from Mr. Gagne. Mr. LaBelle, how do you vote?
Aye,
Mr. Gagne?
Yes.
Chair votes aye. Item is approved. Next item is approve and accept payrolls. Do I have a motion?
motion to approve and accept the payrolls for the week ending April 5, 12, and 19 of 2025.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Seconded.
Motion by Mr. LaBelle, second by Mr. Gagne. Mr. LaBelle, how do you vote?
Aye,
Mr. Gagne?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Item is approved. Next is to approve and accept meeting minutes for March 27, 2025. Mr. Gagne, that was you and I at that meeting. Mr. LaBelle was not with us. So do I have a motion or do you have any comments?
I've reviewed the minutes and I would make the motion that we accept them.
Mr. Gagne moves approval of the minutes. I also have read the minutes and I will second the motion. Mr. Gagne, how do you vote?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Minutes are approved. The next item is to go into executive session. This is, excuse me, pursuant to Chapter 30A, Section 21 of Mass General Laws for the purpose of discussing strategy and/or process for negotiating a contract. Do I have a motion to go into executive session?
motion to go into executive session.
I have a motion by Mr. LaBelle. Do I have a second?
Second the motion.
Motion second by Mr. Gagne. Mr. LaBelle, how do you vote?
Aye,
Mr. Gagne, how do you vote?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, so we will now go into executive session. So that will be the board and Mr. Barber. Okay, let's see.
And just note that we will reconvene into open session.
Yes, after executive session, we'll reconvene to the regular agenda. The board has adjourned its closed session and will now reconvene in open session. We'll have a roll call. Mr. LaBelle,
here,
Mr. Gagne,
Present.
chair is here, so we have a quorum. Next item on our regular session is old business. I&I investigation. Tim?
All right, so we've been working with Hazen and Sawyer on our II program, inflow and infiltration. The board had approved phase 2 of the contract, and I wanted to update the board that we met with Hazen and Sawyer, and we went over this. They presented this presentation, as well as scheduled flow assessment to start the flow isolation in areas where the highest percentage of inflow and infiltration. And next they will be moving forward to analyze those results. They worked over the last week, and they're finishing up. So they will be analyzing the results from the flow isolation, and then they will move towards preparing for a smoke testing part of the project in drier months. looking at June and July, but we're dependent on the weather. And I can go through this quickly, this presentation, if the board would like to see it. So this is basically the background and overview. The objective is to determine where the infiltration is occurring, identify specific sources, the design targeted CCTV program, and then move towards a mitigation. And the red areas are the areas with the highest percentage of infiltration. The green areas are the lowest percentage, and the yellow are the moderate. So these are the areas at 4, 5, and 7, and 8 that we've set for this part of the project. So the flow isolation currently underway, and then the smoke testing.
The only thing on that, Tim, is the households that are in those areas when you do the smoke test.
Yes.
You should give them some kind of advance notice, because a fair amount of them have either sump pumps, or they have other things that are not supposed to be tied in, that all of a
Yes.
sudden smoke is coming out of different parts of their house.
Yes.
And I think what's very important is when that is identified, that data is given to the Board of Health, because the Board of Health has the authority to order those illegal connections removed.
Yes. So, yeah, we definitely we work on public notification and notification of the households that will be smoke testing. We did have a notification that I distributed from Hazen and Sawyer for the flow isolation project, and then moving towards the smoke testing, we'll have further public notification. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah. So this is kind of the project overview: perform flow isolation, perform smoke testing, data analysis, and then recommendations in the technical memorandum. And at that point, we would have Hazen come back in and present to the board. This is a sample of the flow isolation where they set a wear in the pipe, and they do this at night with lower flows to detect II.
So Tim, I have a question.
Yes.
I take it the green is fluorescein dye?
Yeah, it's not nuclear waste. It's a dye. Yes.
Well, that's as bright as I've seen fluorescein dye.
That's a lot of dye. Yeah.
That's, I was gonna say, that's quite a bit of dye.
So my question is, does that affect the performance of the wastewater treatment facility? I hope not.
I hope not, but maybe in small doses, it might not. You have to ask Dennis that.
That is quite a photograph, I have to
It is.
admit.
It is. And then, so these are the kind of the specific areas. So F4 North was 9,350 linear feet of sewer pipe that they're doing full isolation on. F4 South, another 9,350 linear feet. F5. So F5 is a section that actually flows into the city of New Bedford. So this section is 17,110 linear feet of sewer main, where we're working on detecting any II in this section that actually goes into the city of New Bedford.
But Tim,
Yes.
let me ask you, particularly this section here, with the high residential population, small lots, stormwater, potentially sump pumps tied in.
Yeah.
An order would go to the homeowner that the sump pumps could no longer be tied in. How are these people going to handle their stormwater?
So we try to assist them as much as possible. So if there's any local, municipal drains, we can work with them with connecting. And if not, they're, it's either over land, if they have a the opportunity of installing a drainage, system that can accompany like an infiltration system where they can install it underground. You know, those are some of the options, but
Tim,
sewer
can-
is not.
Tim, can you ask the consultant to sort of prepare a sheet
Absolutely. Yeah.
that can be a handout? Because I know old school practice in these old residential neighborhoods were tie it right into the sewer.
Yeah.
And I think you're gonna need to give them some fact sheet as to what they can do to stop that, because this is gonna be a big issue. And I think they need some guidance, and it's good that it would be in the handout.
Yeah, so we've already asked Hazen to go ahead and create a document or a handout that we can give to these residents. So I'll add some more specifics on, you know, kind of what people can do, you know, kind of options that they have to mitigate. I was out there probably 24, 23 years ago, you know, going door to door, handing out notices and actually working with the smoke testing and dye testing. So that specific area. Yeah.
Right.
So, Tim-
If I may, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, go ahead.
No, please.
Are there any town bylaws or ordinances that disallow residents to pump sub pumps into the right of way?
Yes, mostly during the winter where it creates a hazardous condition.
Right, and I think we all have that, you know, that creates, that creates the problem. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
a lot of people, you know, they may have drainage and are not even aware of it, tied it into the first pipe they saw, which was the sewer. But
Yes.
if they don't have that, what do they do with the flow? And there has to be a recourse for them, or you're not gonna eliminate the I&I.
You know, correct.
Yeah. Think about that.
Oh yeah, we do.
You know, well, yeah, but I'm just saying, I understand the winter component, although, you know, and this winter was bad, you would have got a lot of ice flows.
Yes.
But there has to be an option that you can give residents if you're gonna be successful.
Correct.
You know, so think that through a bit, and how can we achieve that?
Mhm.
And
We will.
Tim,
We'll work with Hazen.
Yeah,
Also to see what other communities.
yeah.
have
I mean,
have
frankly,
done.
we just let people do it. That's what we did.
Yep.
so Tim, on a related issue, as there is a need to deal with the sump pumps and storm drainage, are there opportunities here for more infiltration or detention that the town could take a lead on? I mean, we should be looking at this as a, you know, as a system rather than trying to solve individual problems, if you will.
Yeah, it's hard to solve a high groundwater issue, you know, and then create, you know, infiltration, you know, you know, there's not a lot of town property to work with, you know, like off street drainage, you know, and
Yeah,
infiltration
well,
systems.
Some kind of detention, you know, and including if, you know, if we have to start developing plans for some kind of subsurface detention, you know, it is what it is. But I think, you know, we got to look at this thing a little more broadly than just the wastewater treatment plant and reducing I&I. All right, any other questions from the board?
All right, moving on, F7 and F8, this is down along the shoreline, off of Elm Street. Pipe length 7,970 linear feet and 6,550 linear feet. those are the areas. And this lists the next steps. And that concludes the presentation.
Thank you.
Any board members, any other comments or questions? All right, I don't see any members of the public here. Tim, I do have, I think that the fact that DPW is doing this project and is being pretty systematic about I&I is something that from time to time you seem to get comments from the development community about, well, what's the town doing about the wastewater treatment facility? I think this this particular presentation as something you can give them. Any questions? This will answer it all, I think. What's the town doing? Here you go.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
you mentioned a conversation you had with me a little while ago, and this is, I think, the answer. So, all right. If there are no other comments or questions, we'll move to old business item B, comprehensive wastewater
Rob, just
plan.
one thing on that. Since this is a very important forward step for our DPW to be taking, I would ask that Tim sit down with Peter Chase over at Community Television and maybe bring the consultant in this slideshow, do about a half hour of, film discussion so that they could run it maybe after the select board meetings. And it's something of that, I think, of great significance. I just think it would be helpful for the public to have opportunity to review it. We did this with big sewer projects and it helped a lot.
Great recommendation.
I think that's a good idea, Tim. Can you work on that?
I definitely will.
Yeah, and to the extent you can involve any of the high school people who are working on outreach projects, this would seem to be something that it would be good to get them involved in at some level. Maybe helping with some of the production or making them available or aware.
Okay.
Yeah, because my understanding is that the high school media program is looking for these kinds of public service opportunities.
Absolutely.
All right. Okay, good suggestion. Thank you, Mike. Next item is comprehensive wastewater management plan. Tim?
So during the last meeting, Mr. Chairman, you asked that we reach out to department heads throughout the town to distribute the draft RFP for comment and set up a meeting with these department heads. So I worked with, I distributed the draft RFP to planning, Board of Health, conservation, waterways, the interim town administrator and assistant town administrator. And we're working on scheduling a meeting to discuss the RFP draft. And I know this week, a lot of people were on vacation for school vacation week, but we're looking at hopefully next week or the week after to sit down and discuss. I'm sorry.
I'll say this again, the sooner the better, because this thing needs to start moving into a place where we can give it a public face and we start making progress. My sense is that the time it took the Serped team to give us their product and the time it's taking to get us to a place where we can put this out to bid is causing delays. And, with the development projects that we're going to discuss later in your briefing, and the state of the wastewater treatment facility, I remain uncomfortable with where the town is in its wastewater treatment capabilities, so.
I agree. So I also reached out, I had reached out, well, I think Dennis had reached out to DEP and received some comments on the draft. And then I reached out to CZM, both the wastewater treatment division staff and the coastal resilience division staff, and received comments last week from both of them. I did forward the email on the CZM comments to the board for review, and these comments as well will be, brought up, I think, in the meeting that we sit down with the other department heads in town and discuss which comments we add to the scope of the draft RFP.
Okay, so you'll set that meeting up as soon as possible.
Yes.
All right, any other questions, board members?
No,
No,
All right,
I think as early as late next week or the week after.
all right. All right, if there are no other discussion on old business, new business, item A, approval of construction detail specifications. Tim?
I believe this is it. You can see the detail. Sewer
Yes.
force main trench. So we're working, with some recent developments, and it appeared we didn't have a sewer force main trench section. So we have gravity sections and trench sections. So we would decided to develop a construction detail to be added to our construction detail package to include a sewer force main trench section. So this is the detail for the board to approve, and then once approved, we'll post the detail with the town clerk for 10 days, and then it'll be included in the package and posted on the website with the rest of our construction details and put into our specifications.
Board members, any questions or comments?
Tim,
no,
the only question on this, Tim, this includes actually under the paved section of accepted roadways and the shoulders?
Yes.
Tim,
I
the only other,
do have a question. Tim, do we ever require in sewer work in town streets flowable fill?
So we require flowable fill most often for lateral excavations in the street.
Mhm.
For longitudinal, like main extensions, we do not, because it gets extremely expensive.
Expensive. Yeah,
so we-
oh, no, I get that, yeah.
But we do have a bond that contractors will put up for main extensions based on the linear footage and width of the trench, and so we calculate a bond based on the materials to do that work.
Okay, so but you do require it for laterals?
We do require for all laterals except for gas, because gas, the Eversource gas is.
Yeah, I know, I
determined
got in that fight with them too.
that They can't detect
good.
leaks.
Yeah, good, okay. All right,
Right,
I think it's a great thing.
excellent. And all right, so let me stop this share.
Okay, Mike, any questions?
I don't, no.
All right,
And then the second one is. All right. So this is a low pressure sewer force main connection to a gravity sewer stub. So same thing, this typically is it's a back and forth trying to either contractors or engineers trying to figure out how to reduce from a 6-inch STR-35 gravity sewer service to an 1.25 or 1.5 inch force main sewer service. So we've done some research on components, and these are the components that we list here in the detail to make it easier for engineers, where they can just place this detail on their construction plans rather than doing all the research for different components that we don't allow.
Yeah.
Members,
That's a
any
good idea.
questions?
I'm good.
Good.
All right.
Tim, do you need a motion to accept
We do.
these?
We do.
Yeah, that was my next question. Tim, what do you need? Do you need separate motions for each of these?
Yes, separate motions for each.
Motion to approve the sewer force main tracks section. Is that appropriate
Detail.
enough?
Yeah,
Yep.
detail. Yeah.
Detail, okay.
Do I have a motion by Mr. LaBelle? Do I have a second?
Second that motion.
A second by Mr. Gagne. Mr. LaBelle, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Gagne, how do you vote?
Yes,
Chair votes aye.
Motion to approve the low pressure sewer force main connection to gravity sewer stub detail.
Motion by Mr. LaBelle. Do I have a second?
second,
Second by Mr. Gagne. Mr. Gagne, how do you vote?
yes,
Mr. LaBelle?
Aye.
Chair votes yes. Both detailed specifications are approved. Next item is approval of a tree work permit application.
Right. So.
Barbara?
So, in the past, the tree committee has come before the Board of Public Works presenting tree bylaws and regulations in a new permit application. So before we start using this application, I'd like the board to approve it for use. So I made one edit. My email was listed on the application, but we like to have just a phone number, and I'll be working with Chad, and who works on the Viewpoint online permitting software, to move this from a paper application to an online application where you can go onto the website, go onto the online permitting, and submit this application online, and it'll come right through the portal through my email, rather than just individual people just emailing applications.
Board members, any questions or comments?
the only thing I would note on this
Yeah.
is we really should have something here that determines whether or not if the tree is on a scenic way. And I believe there's another whole process involved with hearings and everything if it's on a scenic way. So I think that may be something that, you evaluate in your review. Because a lot of times people don't realize, that X tree is on a scenic way and it's subject to a statutory requirement for a hearing.
You're right. Yeah, I appreciate that recommendation. I'll add some language to this. It definitely
Tim-
should, it definitely
Tim,
should be on here.
My impression was that this needs some kind of, whether it's a cover sheet or some kind of introduction that speaks to what trees are subject to this and the issue of the scenic way evaluation and process, so that people don't stumble across this and decide they need one of these for a tree in their backyard.
Oh, I do receive them. Absolutely.
Yeah, so I think some kind of, particularly if this is going to be an online application,
Yes.
that somebody has to, that there be an explanation of why and where and the process before they even get to the application.
I work with work with Chad to see if we can get a link, so we can get something posted on the website and then maybe a link to that,
Yeah, right.
item, yeah.
And then, it should be, you may have to list or link to a map, or I'm not sure how you're going to identify the scenic ways, but I think that's a really important point.
Yes, yep, so I can refer, so I'll refer to the scenic bylaw, which lays out all the scenic ways, and we can provide a link to that as well.
Yeah, well, and if it's a straightforward list,
Yes, it is.
maybe that list is provided rather than a link to the bylaw, because if I were doing this and you linked me to a bylaw, I'd look at that and say, what is going on here? And the reason I'm sensitive to this is my wife bought me a coat when we were in Europe, and it was to be shipped. And it's now sitting in New York, and it's been there for 3 weeks. And it's caught up among changes in the review process for tariffs. And I can't figure out how to unstick it, and I got given a list of requirements of information, and then a list of documents that are supposed to be used to satisfy those documents. The list is from Office of Management and Budget, probably 30 documents. I have no idea what document they want. You know, so let's help the let's help the public do this the right way. All right.
So the scenic.
Yeah, I saw that list. That's
Yeah,
the kind
yeah,
of thing
yeah.
that's, if it's straightforward, that's what to use.
Yeah, so the scenic bylaw I just brought up, it's a, hold on.
Yeah, so you say attachment A of the scenic
Yeah.
bylaws. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm good with that.
that's one, it's a one-page bylaw.
Yep.
It's pretty simple and it lists all the roads. Here you go.
Right, and,
Yeah.
you know, and okay,
Okay.
Yep.
Do we want to make a motion on this, or we want to wait for the improvements?
I think
Jim?
with the addition of what Tim has just shown us, I think sooner we get it out there. And I think you ought to ask the person on the town webpage to put this up in the news section. I can tell you it's one of the problems that I experienced most when you had after the fact people cutting down trees on scenic ways, and then you got to deal with a restitution issue. People just don't understand that there are certain provisions for removal of trees along public ways and scenic ways. So I think sooner we get it up, the better. I would make a motion to accept it as presented with the attachment of the list of scenic ways.
I will second that.
I have a motion by Mr. Gagne and a second by Mr. LaBelle. Mr. Gagne, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. LaBelle?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Tim, you might also make a short press release and attach some information and send that to Dartmouth Weekly. Even if it's a small article, it's a way to get the information out there, because you know, we've run into the tree issue once where we had to deal with that after the fact tree removal. And I think I'd like to avoid that if we could. Okay,
Sounds good.
next item is DPW online permitting viewpoint.
Right. So we're moving forward. I know a lot of the other town departments have been, adding their permitting to the online permitting portal, and we have a few. We have our right of way permits that are online, and that process has worked pretty well. Where applicants will attach drawings and submit the application, whether it's a new curb cut or just other work non-associated with the driveway in the right of way, and then we review it and approve it, or ask for additional revisions. So that, you know, moving forward, we have a number of items that we're looking to add to the online portal to make it, you know, more efficient for both applicants and the town. So one is the tree work application that we just discussed, and then moving forward, you know, one of the big ones is the transfer station stickers. So, you know, every year we release our stickers on July 1st, and there's a line out the door for stickers, like they going for Taylor Swift tickets. You know, it's pretty crazy, and it's every day, sometimes all day. And then we usually open the office on the first 3 Saturdays of July, to allow residents to come in on Saturdays that can't make it here during the week to pick up stickers. So I think moving towards an optional online, so not a mandatory. I know, you know, the park department moved to a mandatory online sticker program, and we'll use their sticker program for the permitting, but it wouldn't be mandatory. You know, we're still here for the residents to come in and pick up their stickers, and they would have the option online whether they would want their stickers mailed to them or if they wanted to still come in and pick them up. So there'd be a postage and handling fee for anybody who would like it mailed. But I think it'd make it more efficient for a lot of people that can't make it here to the DPW, and also make it more efficient and for the clerical staff here at the DPW and us.
Tim, I know in the past, and it's good that you're looking at this, and I know the park department one has worked out well. But for this coming season, I believe in the past you have had someone from the DPW office at the transfer station taking care of this so that the scale handlers are, you know, having to deal with it all the time. I thought that worked very well. Those folks that run the scales and work at the transfer station on Saturdays are very busy. And I think having a person dedicated to those stickers there, at least for whatever you see as a reasonable period of time, is a great idea.
Also, Tim,
Well, Mr. McGagnon, before we move on, Tim, that's why we
Yeah.
moved that to the main office on the Saturdays.
Yeah,
So it would be a backup at the
prior to doing it here, it was mostly at the transfer station, which created traffic backups, especially on Saturdays. So we put out the electronic sign from the police department ahead of time to let people know that the stickers are available at the Public Works office, and then, you know, the transfer station staff, you know, if you're going in and you have a load, that's one thing. But if you're going in and you don't have a load, you're just going to get your sticker, you should just come here to the office rather than go to the transfer station and hold up, you know, their staff.
Good.
Yeah.
Tim,
It's a small, you know, office there, or, you know, transfer station shed, so it makes for a traffic jam.
so Tim, is there a reason we have to wait till July 1st?
Stickers are good July 1st. And they start July 1st. So it's always been that way. So what we're working on, moving forward with the transfer station stickers online, we're looking to making it a January to December sticker. Because right now it's always been the transfer station stickers are available July 1st, but the billing for the SMART program don't go out till a couple weeks into July. So we're basically basing the stickers off, you know, people who were in the program the previous year. So if we push it forward to, you know, January of 2026 and base it on people who have paid and are in the SMART program throughout the, you know, FY, you know, 26 portion of the year, then they can get their stickers in January and they'll be good from January to December. And it's a less busy time in January where, people there aren't lines at the transfer station in January, but people can, get their stickers ahead of time and be ready from when they want to use it throughout the year.
So that's a future improvement. I was thinking more, is it necessary to wait until July 1st this year before starting to issue tickets? In other words, could you start in the middle of June and sort of try and spread out that time?
So we work off of basically a ledger that comes from the collector's office. And typically we don't get it until that point. So we can work with the collector's office, see if we can get it at an earlier point, but it hasn't, been available in the past.
Yeah, it seems to me that you'd make it easier on yourselves if you could start a few weeks earlier before
Absolutely.
they're required.
Absolutely.
So maybe you could use that until you switch into a different season.
Mm-hmm.
Try and do that to help you with the crush on July 1st.
Yeah, and then we've tried in the past, and this has been discussed for many years, trying to start stickers earlier, but we have to work with the information that comes from the collector's office.
Yeah, well, maybe you could push them a little bit. I mean, even a couple of weeks would make a difference, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. Any other questions on the viewpoint permitting?
I just wanted to list the rest of the permits as you see them there.
Yeah.
We have our stormwater permits, which it's a stormwater review permit, and then that any work on through the stormwater bylaw, so they'll be able to apply this online rather than right now they hand deliver the permit and the check, where they can do this online, they can pay online. Application for water and sewer calculation and availability, that's another permit we would handle online. The state trench permit, same thing, they can apply and pay online. The tree work permit application, the application for plan review, the soil evaluation application, and lastly, the application for inspectional services.
I think it's great.
Okay. Any other comments, board members?
Tim, did you mention the curb cut permit?
The curb cut permit is our current right-of-way permit, which is currently online. That was the first permit that we started with in the online portal, and it's worked pretty well.
My only question is that when you get it, you apply for a curb cut permit, does an inspector go out and see if in fact stormwater is coming off of whatever they're going to plan, a driveway or a new entrance onto the public way?
I'm not sure they look at the stormwater specific, especially on a residential curb cut. And on a commercial, typically that'd be worked out in the parking plan or site plan review process. But they do, work with the contractor to, if needed to raise the apron or make it so that there's not a lot of runoff coming into the right of way. But if you have a new residential dwelling or an existing dwelling that's raised and everything pitches towards the road, it's going to come to the right of way.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. But we do work, on new construction. We have the stormwater bylaw and permit, which that's what it's for. It's to determine the stormwater aspect of new construction, including new curb cuts.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other comments, board members? All right, this was a discussion item. If we're finished, we'll move on to item D, multi-unit residential development proposals. Tim?
This is a discussion. I wanted to update the board on we've had a number of proposed projects, multi-unit development projects, residential, lately, and so I just wanted to kind of give the boards a heads up. I agree. There's definitely, a housing and a need for housing, and especially affordable housing. Where in today's housing and rental market, it's a struggle to to make ends meet for people to afford housing, and with inflation in the last few years, it makes it even more difficult. Our concerns are based on the demands of our utilities, because our utility infrastructure was designed, based on zoning, and zoning had never incorporated these multi-unit residential developments into zoning. So our infrastructure wasn't designed for this type of density and dense flow. So this is something that we're looking at each project. And I have composed some will serve letters as part of the comment letter that we're being asked to submit. So one project, recent project that was submitted was Sherbert Farms, which is a 156 unit 40B apartment style on Old Westport Road. I'm preparing a comment letter in that will serve letter, which is due this week. There's the next one is the residences at Hawthorne, 147 unit 40B single family and duplex style housing off of Tucker Road at the Hawthorne Country Club, which the comment letter is due at the end of May. Then we have Delano Apartments, which is an 89 unit over 55 apartment style housing on Dartmouth Street, which is currently has a foundation permit. We've been working with our consultant. They've been working with our consultant as well on evaluating the sewer collection and treatment. So we're waiting for the final report so we can work with them on a connection. And then to add those 3 developments with the existing more recent approved multi-unit housing as a 64 unit apartment style development on Fons Corner Road and a 288 unit apartment style 40B development on State Road, that's a total of 744 units, new units that will be coming online. So, we have, really, high concerns on our infrastructure. So, these will serve letters will require peer review at the cost of the applicant for evaluating the infrastructure of the utilities to confirm whether or not we do have capacity, and if there are recommended upgrades to the infrastructure to allow for this capacity.
Board members, any comments or questions?
Significant number of housing units, and I think the issue may be looking at it cumulatively, adding all of those units together. It would be wise.
Absolutely.
Tim, do we have a handle right now on single family homes that are being proposed or are under construction that will require infrastructure from the town, wastewater services?
New construction, single family homes. Not really. It's kind of sporadic. We don't have a lot of subdivision style developments. We had one off of Tucker Road.
I see that
years
one
ago, and they, they're working on finishing that, so they're continuing building on those sites. And there are a couple up north that don't use our utilities. That they're on septic and well, but they're on a lot of the single family subdivision developments. So you'll have some individual lot construction, and most of those, if they have frontage on the utilities, you know, the utilities were designed for their flow.
Yeah.
My only, my concern is also that, you know, all of these units are gonna take capacity, you know, so anybody that hasn't
Yeah.
connected, that has the ability to connect, should connect. Because they, you know, most likely have paid betterment, assessments for the availability of the infrastructure. So, you know, the continuation of these units connecting is, you know, eventually gonna push us over a threshold, for capacity, whether it's capacity, biochemical oxygen demand, or, you know, sludge handling. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Yep.
all these concerns that we have.
All these are gonna be issues, and they're gonna be front and center quickly as these developments, you know, progress. Have we gotten any, I know you and I had a discussion the other day, and I've gotten a few phone calls about, you know, we as a board raised the rates on these permit applications for these types of construction. You know, when we did that, they went into effect in March, is that correct?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. Did we notify everybody, you know, as these projects were coming in, that these rates had changed, and so
So
that they
this-
were aware of it?
So this, you know, we're required to post,
Okay,
any of these updates with the town clerk. So that's
Yep.
where they're posted prior to, issuing. So the date was reflective of the posting with the town clerk.
all right. And basically, our rates are pretty much the norm for this area.
Yeah, there was a, you know, the board had looked at, we presented a comparison of a number of communities, a large number of communities with the different utility connection fees, rates, everything. And those, you know, the revisions were based on those.
Yeah, because it was a substantial increase. It was pretty much a 50, well, 100% increase.
Yeah, so it wasn't just for multi-unit housing, it was for any connections moving forward
Yep.
into the sewer system.
Yeah, but when you're looking at,
Yeah,
you know,
Yeah,
hundreds of units, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it gets testy.
yes.
So, Tim, I want to go back to a comment Mike made. How do I put this politely? I think the Commonwealth of Massachusetts zoning laws miss the need for regular evaluations of cumulative impacts, and that's not just to services, but a wide range of environmental and socioeconomic issues. These are major projects, and this is a large number of new residential units. And we really don't know what else might be out there. You know, this, for the sake of the discussion, is a real honest to goodness crystal ball, and it just simply doesn't pick that stuff up. I don't know why. Maybe I need a new one.
I'll let you
However-
borrow mine.
My crystal ball tells me that we have another 500 units coming.
Okay, so what I think personally that you should sit down with the planning director and have a conversation about some kind of evaluation of cumulative impacts. And that would include water, sewer, traffic, and schools maybe. I don't know what else, but given what we can see coming down the pike, I really think the town needs to take a deep breath and ask some questions about cumulative effects. Okay? And if it's not done now, it won't get done.
So yeah, I'll definitely, you know, discuss
Yeah,
that
and
with planning. Just to let you know, it's you know, some of these projects don't go through planning.
I'm sorry, some of these projects, what?
Do not go through planning.
Yeah, well, I know that. I'm very aware about that. And that's part of the discussion to be had. And we had a project up on Fonts Corner Road where we were able to negotiate a mitigation fee for increased sewer use. And I think that should be done as a standard practice for any projects that that require a zoning variance. And I also think you ought to develop a similar mitigation fee for connection for water. And as I look at the information you gave us about these projects, these 3 projects, I see at least a couple of spots where I'm very concerned about traffic and the need for additional signals. And I will presume that you're gonna raise these issues and this is something that needs a hard look. Because I mean, any one of these projects is gonna increase traffic at certain parts of the day. So not just water demand, not just sewer, but straight up public safety in traffic requires a little bit of thought.
Absolutely.
You know, I think, and Dartmouth Street is probably one, and traffic flow on Old Westport Road is an issue when the university gets out. So, and this is the second project is close enough to the university that this really needs some thought. If these are going to be 40B projects, we got to flag these issues now and figure out how to mitigate these cumulative effects.
Yeah, so we met with Mass Housing and a month ago over at Old Westport Road for the Sherbrooke Farms project, and they were working on a traffic study, which I believe they submitted. We met with the developers at the residences of Hawthorne yesterday, along with Mass Housing and the developers, and they will be working on a traffic study to submit as well. They also stated that they have professionals that they're working on, dealing or I don't know if fighting is the right word, arguing the concerns of the DPW regarding the wastewater facility.
Well, yeah, but I don't mind doing that in a public hearing, whether it's at the zoning board or here.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons to keep on track with the comprehensive wastewater management plan.
Yeah.
Because that's where the details for our future needs are going to come out.
Correct.
And I don't recall any of these 3 projects were included in the estimates provided to us by Serped. Unless I'm missing something here. And I'm also going to make a side comment. This project on Old Westport Road,
Yes.
I will bet anyone today that that's going to fill up with students. That's my guess, and I'm willing to make a small side bet.
Yeah, so the 40B process, is selective, so you have to submit income and different types of documents. So I think it all goes through the Mass Housing process. So I'm not sure if it will be all students, if they comply with the requirements, but they may.
What percentage is the 40B?
What do you mean?
What percentage of the project is set aside for 40B?
25%.
Yeah, and what happens to the other 75%? Their market rate, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, that's
Yep.
what I'm
Oh,
talking.
yeah, you're right. So originally, I think one of the, a few years back, there was a UMass housing project that was proposed, and it did get denied for the students. But you're right, this could be student housing.
Yeah, my experience is with a little community called Isla Vista, which it's 1/2 square mile was once one of the densest population areas in the United States. And it was all private housing for the University of California, Santa Barbara. And it grew by accident, not by accident. It was allowed to grow. And I gotta tell you, it hasn't really served either the students all that well, or the greater community. And you know, students can afford 2 per bedroom and drive the rental rates through the roof very quickly. And you know, I respect the need for 40B housing, and I also respect the need for student housing, but this doesn't feel well thought out, and I'll leave it at that. All right, anything else on this issue? This is for
No.
discussion.
Yeah. So that also, you know, I wanted to give the board an opportunity to, you know, to comment on any of these projects moving forward. Like I said, I have comments due this week that I'm working on for the Sherbrooke Farms, and then the residences at Hawthorne are due at the end of May. So I'll be working on those comments, and I'll distribute a draft, you know, before I submit.
Oh, one other thought on Sherbrooke Farms.
Yes.
Does that drain into Cedardale Pond?
Well, that section of the road, the public right of way, drains into the pond through the drainage system. The project will be required to design on-site stormwater.
And I noticed there's pond and wetlands area immediately behind the project. Does that drain into Cedardale Pond? Do you know? Is that part of the drainage?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Because of the residents' interest in the Cedardale Pond issue, I'd be very cognizant of how increased stormwater is handled for that project.
Yep.
All right. If there are no other comments, we'll move on to committee updates. Any other board members have any comments?
No,
No.
I'm a member of the Long Range Capital Planning Committee, and the committee will be briefing town meeting with what is supposed to be a 10-minute discussion of long-term projects of interest to Public Works are capital facilities associated with drinking water treatment and wastewater collection and treatment infrastructure. And those 2 categories are flagged as ongoing and in development and potentially needing funding through borrowing. And that's why they're on this list. I will, when we get a revised presentation, I'll have Tim circulate it to the board so that you can see it coming. The 2 public works projects are listed high in the priority list. The only project that's listed higher is roof and windows for the high school. And I agreed in the committee meeting that a leaking roof in the high school is probably fairly high priority issue.
It is.
The bridge replacement is on the list, but it's problematic because of the state's control over the project itself. But it's on the list, and it's will be shown as under development, or in engineering is being developed, and we don't have an actual scheduling date yet. But that's how the bridge is going to be dealt with.
Currently around the 25% design.
Yeah.
percentage. So they,
Yeah, since this presentation is for a town meeting, the intent is to keep it as free from jargon and any kind of technical discussion as possible. The discussion at town meeting is unusual. And there won't be any questions from the floor as a result of this particular presentation. However, there will be 3 public meetings that are listed, one specifically for Public Works projects, probably in September. And that would, the discussion is to be held at the North Town Public Library. And we had a discussion about where to actually have that open public meeting. And Public Works doesn't have any facilities that are really amenable to having a large number of the public show up. So we decided on the public library. And again, I'll have the next iteration of the presentation provided to the board so you see it coming.
excellent.
Any questions on that one?
The only, and it may, as I'm catching up on different correspondence and documents, it may have been addressed. But certainly with any capital plan is the issue of the method and means to fund.
Right.
And based upon what limited knowledge I have of the cost of the 2 top priorities that we have, our consultants, I think, should be prepared to comment and answer the question, which I guarantee will come up, and that is whether or not the improvements are ratepayer based or they are townwide tax based. And I would just, dependent upon, what is chosen, we would then be faced, if they are ratepayer based, then we're going to need to know what is the method and means as extensions are made, additional entities come into the system paid for by the ratepayers. The whole financing issue is going to be extremely complex. And I just think that issue there, I guarantee, will come up in some public forum, and we need some guidance on that.
Good point. Thank you.
Well, water and wastewater are enterprise accounts, correct?
Right.
So
Yes,
It
right.
would be ratepayer based.
Initially, but I think Mike's comment reaches to how non-users today that connect get to help with some of the capital costs that are incurred during the project's expansion or upgrading. Is that it, Mike?
It is, and especially in light of, since enterprise fund accounting has been in place for water and sewer over the better part of, I think, close to 25 years now in Dartmouth. And those ratepayers have been contributing into the cost of your infrastructure development. And somebody new comes in that hasn't been contributing to those 25 years of the infrastructure, cost sharing. What is the factor? That they've made the investment. The town initially made the investment through the tax rate and then went to enterprise fund. So there's going to be a cost, and I think some very careful financial advisory is necessary here as to what it would be, how it would be handled, and how it would be fair, both for the current ratepayers and for those future come-ins.
Okay. And the key, I think, the bottom line here is to convince both the existing ratepayers and the public that whatever is proposed and adopted is fair, right? It's gonna be the bottom line, is the public's got to be accepting of how this is done.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's a what, a how, and a how much, and why is it fair?
A lot of very important issues, Ron. Well said.
Did you ever think when you were entering into the public service that sales was gonna be a big part of your job?
I've certainly have learned that with some of the bigger sewer projects we did back in the 80s and 90s. But the more information in the forums of getting that information out, the better it is for the people to make their choices, and ultimately town meeting to make their choices.
Yeah. And Ron, we find out sometimes how much courage elected officials have.
Yes, we do.
All right. I have nothing else, and if there are no other board member items for committee updates, Tim, do you want to do your director's update, please?
Yes, can I step back a minute? So on the multi-unit proposals, I had submitted 2 draft will serve letters. Did either of you have any comments on those letters or questions? I'm also, working on town council reviewing them before I do submit.
No, Tim, I think we discussed some of the issues that you should include in the letters. And I think as the Public Works Director, it's kind of up to you to work with town council and figure out how to state that clearly and legally.
Absolutely.
The only comment I have, Tim, is based upon the earlier conversation we had like 20 minutes ago, and the characterization of 900 and something units, that I think the consultant you choose has to take into consideration that particular factor, and the factor that was raised by Rob on the issue of additional housing units that will tie in that are along existing systems. That our decision is going to have to be made on a total cumulative basis, and it's so important that all the factors be brought in. The letter was great. I think that's absolutely necessary, and using the 53G account format makes all the sense. But you've got some very big task ahead of you to be able to look at the whole picture and what the factor is in the whole picture we are currently at.
Right. All right, thank you.
I would make a motion that we accept the letter as presented in the format of the 2 drafts that were included with our agenda, one for water and one for sewer.
I have a motion by Mr. Gagne to accept the form of the letters.
I will
for
second
water and
that.
sewer.
I will second that motion.
We have a second by Mr. LaBelle. Mr. Gagne, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. LaBelle?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Okay,
Thank you.
all right, chapter 90 funding, Tim?
So, I believe it was the last board meeting, I had updated the board of the Chapter 90 program has a fair share for road maintenance fund. And last year we were awarded with 619,000, which we used and put to good use, reconstructing, repaving Russell's Mills Road. This year we were, awarded only 260,000 in the fair share, which was 360,000 less, which we need all the money we can get, for this work, especially with the inflation of all of our materials and labor. But we were also awarded 1.8 million for Chapter 90, which is which is the highest we've been awarded in many years or ever, I think, which was $650,000 more than we were awarded last year. Last year we were awarded 1.15 million. So that's a great increase that we can work with in working on our roads.
Yeah, that's a nice number, 1.8.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so arguably this helps us get caught up a little bit,
Every little bit helps, absolutely.
all right? Union negotiations?
So union negotiations have begun for FY 26 for the bridge. They're looking at a bridge contract because they won't have negotiations ready completed for the July 1st expiration of the current contract. So they worked with the United Steelworkers and possibly other unions in town, and we will be sitting down on Monday the 28th to work with the laborers union as well. Just updating the board on that. So that's moving forward.
So Tim, is it your impression that the shop stewards have thought out some of the suggestions they would make to improve on the last set of contracts and deal with some of the issues that seem to be a chronic problem in certain classifications?
I'll have to, confer with them on that in the meeting. I know some of them have requested MOAs on some items.
Yeah, this board has seen a number of personnel issues driven by a poor classification done a number of years ago. And in conversations with you, certain board members have asked a number of times to strongly encourage the shop stewards to bring corrections for those problems to the contract negotiations. And I personally would be disappointed if that didn't happen.
So, Mr. Chairman, good morning, Derek Martin. So I am the president of the United Steelworkers. So what we're doing right now is we're doing a reclassification study that's just about to start, and they're going to be doing all the job descriptions. So that was supposed to be by the USW, was supposed to be done, performed by last year. So the reason why we're doing a bridge contract is because they have a new company coming in to do the reclassification. So there is going to be no language right now. It's just to get to the new administrator, a 3% bridge with no language, with the ability for the reclassification study to come back, and then we can utilize that. All of your concerns are definitely noted with the administrator acting right now. He was part of the negotiations on the other side with the last reclassification. So that's 100% everybody's understanding of how this needs to be done, learning from the last reclassification. So everyone is on the same page as far as that. As far as the percentage, they're looking at a bridge percent across the board that will just bring us into fiscal year 2026.
Right.
And that they hired a different company than they hired last reclassification, and it includes this time. It includes the rewriting of all job descriptions.
All right. Yeah, it seems to me that based on our past experience, that it's worth taking some time to get it right this time.
Yes.
100%. And we've talked about bringing it back to the director and to the administrator and to the supervisors to see if we clearly see any problems that they might have noted. That was one problem that happened in the last reclass. They put a draft in front of the select board, and it wasn't gone back. So learning from the past, it's something that's really important to a director like Tim and working with Paul or Tony or Dennis of where they see the problems in their own, department. So Gary has very voiced his opinion on that as well. So, like I said, the reason why we're taking that bridge is because we don't want to go into negotiations not knowing where we're at, because I think there's gonna be a significant increase in some things due to, pre-COVID and post-COVID.
Right. Any board members, any questions or comments?
No,
No, just that, let's try to get it right this time.
Agreed. Learn from the past, Mr. LaBelle.
Yep, Derek. Good deal.
Learn from the
Oh.
past or repeat it.
Yeah, so I'm on it, let's say.
Yes, you
All
are.
right.
We
I
need,
agree.
we need to better it, and then we can, better our team, so.
Well, and I like the word team, and the reason is that the town's in the business to provide public services. And in order to do so, everyone involved needs to act as a team.
Absolutely.
And, part of that is treating everyone with respect and treating people fairly. So,
Every job is important.
yes. Anyway, with that, I'll be quiet. Tim, item C is the drought declaration.
Thank you for that, Derek.
You're welcome.
So let's see. So I have the DEP has issued a reduced drought declaration for this area, down from a significant drought, level 2, to a mild drought, level 1, which is good news. We still have some ways to go due to the lack of rainfall and snow over the winter. But I distributed this drought conditions letter to the board, and it touches on some enforcement or restrictions. I also I didn't include it in the board meeting, but recently added some tools, some public notification flyers to our website to notify residents of how to conserve water, and restrict outdoor use.
Right. Tim, how closely aligned are the restrictions and or particularly restrictions on our pumping to the flow measurements in the Pascamanset?
They're pretty closely aligned. If you look here, that all non-essential outdoor water use restricted. Well, here it's restricted to 1 day per week before 9 and after 5, where our typical restriction is 7 days a week before 9 and after 5 p.m. And they have some exemptions here as well.
Well, I guess what I'm getting at is when the river gauge reaches a certain point, we're required to cut back on our pumping. Is that right?
Yes.
So how closely does Public Works track the USGS measurements? Do you wait for them to notify you, or do you have somebody that basically takes a quick look at them every morning and either graphs or tracks that information?
No, USGS goes out and they complete the measurements, and then they notify us.
All right, so
May I interrupt, sir? Steve Sullivan. They do monitor it daily. We get a report from the USDS, like Tim said, and the guys keep track of it every day because we have to shut down at the point we reach that river level.
all right. And are you able to predict that at all ahead of time?
Yeah, we can see the trend of it going down. We'll know like, okay, we have one more day that we'll be able to run our wells, and then that next day it hits that point, and we will shut. Yeah, that level hits and then we have to shut down.
All right, and can you look forward even further, like a week, sorta?
Oh, yeah, I mean, we can see the trend of
Alright.
it going down, so we know how many, sometimes it's like, where we look at it and say, okay, we're gonna get 3 more days out of this, so. The plant operators monitor it on a daily basis, so they keep Tony informed of what's going on.
All right, so Tim,
You also use the proposed rainfall as well, or
Yeah.
lack of.
Yeah,
right, it's kind of what I thought. Where I'm going is, in order to emphasize the need for water conservation, if you could anticipate the need to purchase water from New Bedford, which is what, an order of magnitude more expensive on a gallon to gallon basis, and inform the public that we're gonna have to start paying a lot more money for retail. And it would be a good idea if they cut back, and I know there's a better way to state all that. But I think anticipating, particularly this year, if it doesn't rain, anticipate linking river flow, more expensive water, and the need to cut back somehow in some kind of public service announcements or somewhere around, posting on the website or whatever. I think that would be a good idea. All right. Okay. Board members, any other comments on the drought?
Oh,
All right. Tim? Next item.
Moving forward, the contractor has been working on the water pollution control biofilter at the compost facility. It's been under construction about a week and a half. It's almost completed. The biofilter had outlived its life expectancy and wasn't working properly for some time. The new biofilter, paired with new ventilation units and pip pumps that were funded through APA. And then the biofilter was funded through an article through the enterprise fund. It should help with the function and some odor complaints that we've received over the past year or so.
Okay. So that's good news, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So what's the status of the work right now, Tim?
I'd say we're about 90%. Dennis, do you have any fine tuning on that? Dennis is still here, but yeah,
It should be done by the end of the week with my fingers crossed.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
excellent. All right. So Arbor Day is April 25th for kind of the Arbor Day program. This year, the Dartmouth Tree Committee has been working with MON Landscaping and myself, and we worked with them to plant 6 new trees at Town Hall. And at some point, they were planning on scheduling kind of a celebration of that planting, but I haven't heard from the tree committee on that date yet. But I'll update the board when it comes in.
Yeah, suggest to the tree committee that pictures in Dartmouth Weekly would be nice.
Absolutely. In preparation for that work, the DPW highway department had gone out and cut down an old maple that was in rough shape. And last year we did some removals along Town Hall as well for older trees that were in some rough shape, so they could plant some new trees and shrubs. So good. Moving on. Yeah.
Tim, when you take down a hardwood like that,
Mhm.
Does anybody judge, and it's large, does anybody judge the quality of the wood and offer it, say, to the high school woodworking program?
No, I think it's typically cut at handling length and removed Sometimes some of the wood is left for a week or so before the DPW picks it up. So residents can take it for firewood and such, but we've never offered any of the wood to any of the high schools for woodworking.
Yeah, it seems to me we cut down a certain number of hardwoods every year, oaks and maples. And in some areas, those kinds of trees are offered up to local mills and made used as appropriate. Maybe I'm just being sensitive. There's a huge oak tree that was taken down near where I live, and some of it looks like it might be 2.5 feet in diameter, long lengths, and it's just sitting there aging, I guess is the right way to put it.
Right. Yep.
So
Well, we don't have that 2.5-foot diameter, and we don't have any local mills anymore.
yeah, I
Yeah,
know.
unfortunately, we lost our local mill. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we could ship them to California, they could prep it for us, send it back to us.
Yeah, I know. And it would probably be on the same train as our waste in 5 years. So,
Correct.
Yeah,
yeah. All right. Okay. I had to ask the question. Tim,
Hey,
Green Up Day?
Green Up Day, Earth Day was the 22nd of April, and kind of in celebration of that, there's a Green Up Day program put on by local residents that from April 19th through the 27th, they can come to the DPW, pick up purple bags. So there's a specific color every year. So this year the purple bags, they're donated to us by Waste Zero that works with us for our orange bags at no charge. And then residents can pick up these bags and then collect trash along the areas of neighborhoods and roadways. And then there's a list of pickup areas that the DPW will go up and pick. There's six locations, so residents can choose their closest location to them. That's Allen Street and Tucker Road, Fons Corner Road and Old Fall River Road. Dartmouth High School, you may notice there are bags there currently. Horse Neck Road and the Landing, Slocum Road and Russell's Mills Road, and then upon Ganser Park.
And again, where's the pickup for these bags?
I just listed them.
No, I mean, not the bag, not the full bag.
Oh, the bag. The bag can be picked up here at the DPW administration office.
Okay. All right. Food waste?
Food waste. So since the implementation of the curbside program, so we have the drop-off location at the transfer station, and that's still going well. We have 3 bins. We started off with 2, and the curbside collection has been expanding. We've had 11 new customers since the program began, and on that's a pay it's a pay to throw program by Black Earth, and we're also, the district is offering it's called a food cycler. So the food cycler is an in-home food scraps program, and it actually takes food in the matter of hours and breaks it down to a dehydrated, like powdery substance, which can be added to your compost. It's not considered compost, but it can be added to your compost. It takes bones, meats, everything. The district is offering a discount to their first customers, and it's a great program moving forward.
Is that posted on their website?
It's posted on their website, yes, and and on the social media platform as well.
Tim, the bins that you have at the DPW administrative office, can you say a little bit about those?
The food, what bins?
So the orange 5-gallon ones I see in the.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'm sorry. So that's part of the food waste program for a drop off at the transfer station. So it's 5-gallon. It's basically a Home Depot bucket with a sealed, gasketed, screw type lid, and you also get a countertop bin which is a little smaller, all free of charge, if you're part of the SMART program, to reduce, food waste in the waste stream. So those can be picked up here at the DPW office as well. And then, you can use the countertop bin to collect your daily food waste, and then you can dump it into the sealed bin, and then take that bin and bring it to the transfer station at the highway yard and dump it in one of the food waste bins. No plastics or containers or anything are allowed. It's strictly food waste only.
Thanks, Tim.
You're welcome.
Okay,
So-
personnel vacancies?
So lastly, we've hired a driver and a machine operator, two separate staff, who are scheduled to start work in May. And we're looking forward to bringing the additional staff on board. For the water and sewer superintendent position, we have interviewed multiple candidates, and we're working on that currently. And for the admin assistant position, we've had a large number of applicants that we've worked through. And in the meantime, we've also worked on the updating of the job description, and we're working on potentially scheduling interviews for next week, in the week after.
How many vacancies do we have right now, Tim?
Get that. And so 17. But that doesn't include once those two, once the driver and the operator start, that'll go down to 15.
Right, of those 17, can you
Yeah.
categorize them?
So we have
Did MEOs, HMEOs?
Yeah. So we have-
SMEOs?
so we have one's an alternate bridge tender. So we filled our bridge tenders, but you usually try to hire an alternate. So that's vacant. 2 SMEOs. Once we bring on this operator, it'll be down to 1 SMEO. 6 HMEOs. So I believe this will bring it down to 5 HMEOs. 1 master mechanic. 1 principal clerk / utility billing clerk. 2 engineering inspectors, associate engineers. 1 water pollution control operator. 1 water and sewer craftsman. Water and sewer superintendent. Administrative clerk. That's it.
That's enough?
Okay, anything else, Tim?
That is it.
All right, board members, any other comments or questions?
Oh, good meeting. A lot of subject covered.
I agree. There's a lot going on in this department, and I just heard a list that almost sounded like its own department.
Very busy.
Yeah, but
So one of our
we're
associate,
short.
one of our associate engineers had left to take the superintendent position at another municipality. And I asked him how many staff were below him, and he said 16. I said, well, that's how many vacancies we have. So, you're correct.
Yeah, well, we've had a discussion about our concerns about staffing, so we probably don't have to raise the same issues again.
Yep.
All right, if there are no other comments or questions, any of the other participants in the meeting, any members of the public have anything to address to the board? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I will make that motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second,
I have a motion by Mr. LaBelle and a second by Mr. Gagne to adjourn the meeting. Mr. Gagne, how do you vote?
yes.
Mr. LaBelle?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for your time. I deeply appreciate it.
Yep.
Thank
Nice
you.
seeing everyone.
Take care.
Take care.
Take care.